No. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everybody, to the LinkedIn Live, the Transformative Edge, leading beyond limits. Listen, we're going to be with you all for 3 absolute fantastic days. We are so very, very excited. My name is Bridget Brown Jackson. I am a behavioral wealth strategist and a leader, 30 plus years in leadership in various ways, one of them running multi-million dollar school organizations and now leading my own entrepreneurial journey. Listen, we're going to be talking about transformative leadership, and making sure that, again, leaders can do the best that they can. We have a great, great panel of experts with us today. We have Gary Hibbs, we have C. Morgan, we have Janice Allen Jackson, and we have Martha Davidson. I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves, and then we're going to get into what we're going to be talking about today. Listen, if you're listening in real time, we want you to chat back so we can see what you are saying in real time if you would like to talk, as well as if you're watching this in replay. Listen, we love the replay squad too. So, hey, shout out to the replay squad. Let us know. We're going to start with introductions. Go ahead, Gary, introduce yourself.
Hey, Bridget, and hey, everybody. It is really good to be here. My name is Gary Hibbs, and I have just started a company called Unleashed to Lead after about 30 years working with older adults and in the senior services industry. Started out as an attorney and was in the C-suite with a company called Erickson Senior Living for 27 years. And now I am an older adult. So starting this company to try to help people come out of hiding, quite frankly, to unleash their gifts, to fully live and lead. Because I do think a lot of people, like I used to be, are in hiding and need to unleash their gifts. So it's great to be here.
Love it. Love it. Thank you, Gary. C. Morgan, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm C. Morgan. I'm your alignment coach and leader. I work with the youth and different educational and medical organizations to see we can align where they need to be in their professional and personal lives. I love the medical. I have a background in nursing, love psychology, and just empowering and getting people where they need to be for success by ironing out who they can see who they truly are, but look in the mirror and love who they are and empower them to gain access in their businesses, careers, and home life.
Ooh, love it. Whoop. Nugget drop about yourself. Amen. Love it. Go ahead, Janice Allen Jackson, my cousin. That's not my cousin.
Yes, yes, we are honorary cousins by marriage. I am Janice Allen Jackson, and I am so pleased that we are doing resuming this series. We had a bunch of fun and provided a good deal of information a few months ago. So we're back now to continue those discussions. I am Janice Allen Jackson. As you can tell from my background, my business is Janice Allen Jackson and Associates. I'm also host of the Local Matters podcast of Georgia. I have over 30 years of experience as well in local government management. I have overseen organizations with budgets of up to $850 million, organizations of 3,000 employees or so, as well as been on the executive team of the even larger local government organizations. So after all those years of seeing things that could go wrong in organizations, I decided that there was a better way to do things. So I am pleased to now provide consulting services, organizational development, training, executive search, etc., to local government and nonprofit organizations. And also pleased to have recently picked up a certificate that I think I may find a way to talk about today. Recently EQI certified, because I really believe in emotional intelligence and how we can use that, develop that in order to make more effective leaders and organizations. Thanks so much, Bridget, for this opportunity.
Thank you for joining us. Wait a minute, we're gonna have to talk in the background, because I need to. Well, I want to pick your brain about that one. Go ahead, Martha. Introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Martha Davidson. I'm the founder of Empowering Minds Now. I'm your success catalyst and strategist. I help high performing women in the leadership space gain their seat in the executive suite. I have just started in the last week a program called Black Girl Magic Leading Within playing full out without selling out. And for us as women leaders, I've been in this space for 30 years. We become the go to, the expert, and still get overlooked. So, my goal is to provide the secret sauce to learn how to play full out and still lead with integrity and authenticity in who you are.
Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Every time I get with you all, I just feel so blessed to be a part of your tribe. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. As we all have all heard, we all are leaders here, and we're gonna get into this because our goal is people's success. One of my catchphrases, and I love to say, no leader left behind. I know when I started off in leadership, I had a great mentor, but it was other areas and things that I needed to have that, I had to grow into and to learn. So we don't want any leaders left behind, and we can help them. We truly do. So, what we're going to be doing over the next 3 days is we're going to be having conversations. And so, we are again so very excited to start. So, today, what we're going to do is we're going to explore a couple different things. And so today we just want to start off by defining transformational leadership. And so what we're going to explore is some practical concepts and some transformation stuff that happens with this type of leadership because it's not like any other leadership. So there are some dynamic things. So who would like to start off with talking about that? Transformational leadership. Is it just a catchphrase or is it really something that leaders need to aspire to have?
Well, I'll go first since I'm first on the block, I guess. Although I feel funny going first with the ladies in the room. Ladies go first, but I'll jump in. Anyways, I think transformational leadership. It's more than just a catchphrase. I mean, the first thing, I'm a John Maxwell coach, and one of the things John always talks about is everything rises and falls on leadership.
Yes.
Everything, and you're not just born a leader, you've got to work at that, and leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. But transformational leadership, I think, is something a little bit, different. And from my Christian perspective, I was conforming, I know, to the world. There's a verse that says, don't be conformed, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I think transformational leadership really starts all leadership. We can't give away what we don't have. And we've got to transform our own mind and work at that. So I think it's really something that's important to see. It starts with us.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. One of the things that I would add to that, Gear, is that it's a level of rising on both parts. And
Mhm.
that's the piece that I love about transformational leadership is not a placard on your desk. I'm the leader and you all are the followers. No, when you have transformational leadership, everybody is a winner. Everybody is going to win because you have people that are following your colleagues that are going to do the same thing.
Mhm.
Martha, you were going to jump in and come on, see.
Yeah.
I know you. I got you. I know you got nuggets. I know you got nuggets.
Yes, it is so great what you said, Gary, because as a leader, we're so busy trying to get to be the leader, we don't know how to be the leader when we in that space. And I learned that the hard way. I got a executive leadership role, and I realized that I was no longer a taskmaster. I was a strategic thinker and decision maker. And that was really hard for me to understand that I now had the authority to be able to listen, to understand the people that I was leading, be able to come up with ways to be inclusive. All those things are things that a lot of times we don't have. And being a transformational leader requires you to continue to grow, not only with your team, but to do the work, do the work in yourself. I don't want to take up too much time, but for me, I used to get bullied a lot when I was a kid. So when I became a leader, what was I doing? Trying to show people how smart I was. See, and so therefore my energy spoke before me. And so you want to be able to make sure you have a cohesive, inclusive mindset in order to lead for the potentials that each of your individuals have the capability of being and doing.
Oh, I love it, Martha. And I see Michael is listening, and Michael says, excited to listen. We're excited that you are listening. I love that. That goes great with what Gary just said, like, be ye transformed. That's one of my favorite scriptures
Right.
as well, Gary. You be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. As leaders, yeah, I mean, that's spiritual, but it's also practical for us as leaders. We have to renew our mind. And I love what you said. Actually, I wrote it down. I'm over here taking notes. So if y'all see me looking on the side, I am literally learning from some of the geniuses that God blessed me to be around. So I'm taking notes. So if you're listening real time or replay, listen, get your pen and paper, take your notes. Martha just said, energy spoke before me. Wow. If that is not an amazing thing to say, like literally understanding as a leader, it's not about, and I can even replace the word ego there, Martha. Sometimes as leaders, we put our ego first. And that was
Right.
me. I'm telling on myself. When I first became a leader, I had to do a performance improvement plan on one of my staff. And she was like, I'm not signing that. And I'm like, oh, yes, you are. And my mentor was like, you can't make her sign it, Bridget. I was like, she's going to sign this. And what was so crazy is that wasn't even my temperament. I wasn't even that kind of person in real life. But as I started leading, I started getting the wrong connotation of leadership at some point. And I had to self correct. So, Martha, that's going to be my new thing. Energy spoke before me because I don't want my energy, that kind of energy, to speak before me. I want the resignation of the fact that I am a marvelous person, as Janice started talking about at the beginning with EQ, that I can be empathetic, that I can be a servant leader, that I can be that. Okay, I'm gonna shut up. Come on, see, I knew you were gonna say something, and I know Janice is ready to jump in. Come on, double dutch, double
No,
dutch.
I think I agree completely what Gary and Martha has said. And to me, with the transformative leadership, you're adding it, it's you do inspire and you motivate not only yourself, but your team or the organization that you're with to achieve those exceptional outcomes by transforming not just the attitudes, but the beliefs and their behaviors, which goes together with the authentic person, which they all pour into when they're doing a position or they're doing some role in an organization and even in your home life. So that leadership style, it's characterized a lot by the ability to bring out significant change in the person, in the organization, with the goals and the objectives that one may have, but both when it goes into your organizational systems and how you can include being that transformational leadership by not only on your cognizance that you have, but listening to the others for the feedback to work together to make that so cohesive and tight, it becomes seamless.
Mhm. Yeah.
Seamless. I love that analyzation. Yes. Go on, Janice. I know you want to double dutch in there. Come on, jump.
Yes, want to jump right on in. First off, I got to acknowledge Michael. When I mentioned managing organizations with 3,000 people, Michael was one of my 3,000. So
Oh,
thanks so much for
wow.
joining us today, Michael.
Yes.
He's gone off to bigger and better things, but good to know that we're still connected via the wonderful platform of LinkedIn. Yes, in terms of transformative or transformational leadership, you are absolutely right. It's not just something we say. Sometimes people may use it that way as a cliche, but it really can happen, and it really can happen to the benefit of everyone in the organization as well as the people, most importantly, that you serve in that organization. When I start thinking about what transformative or transformational leadership is, the first thing that came to mind was risk taking. In order to really do something different, you got to be willing to do something different. Requires a level of risk taking because people are so accustomed to the status quo that they start asking questions. Well, why do you think that's going to work? Well, I don't know if that's going to work. And why are we doing this? Why do you think this is necessary? So a lot of times I know myself as want to make change, and the big thing that I would find out is that I just needed to explain more because sometimes people truly did not understand. So, and I would think, well, I've got this vision where everybody ought to see that the change needs to take place. You know, we as leaders have to make sure that we're effectively communicating to the folks around us about why the change is necessary, how it's going to be beneficial. And I think once you do that, you can establish a level of buy in that makes it much easier to move forward with whatever it is that you plan to do.
Oh,
Mhm.
I love it. I love what you just said because that buy-in is so important. So we're going to end the segment talking about that. So we're going to wrap back around. So if you all are listening, please stay here because we're going to wrap back up and talk about how trust is so important and vital to that. So I love that you brought that out, Janice. So let's talk about some real life stuff. And
Mhm.
I know you all have given examples, but let's dig deeper. Let's pull out some really juicy examples from our leadership experiences as you examine, looking at transformational leadership. What's some of the things that you've seen, maybe you've done, or who was one of those real life transformational leaders that you tried to emulate and model your life off of? I know for me, Gary, you mentioned John Maxwell. When I was a school administrator, I had every last one of the books. Like literally every summer, John Maxwell's books were my summer reads. I
Hmm.
read them over and over and over again because he was the epitome of an amazing leader. An amazing leader. And one of, I don't know which book, but in one of the books, he talked about the fact of the story of the guy who was in the church. He was the new pastor, but he found out he wasn't the leader.
Hmm.
Literally, the people, it was some of the people that were on the board that had the word power, that had the actual real power.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely. Yeah, that was Claude, and he was in Hillham, his first church.
child, yes,
Claude and
yes,
Claude. Yeah, and this was a really small church, but it went to his point in terms of influence. Claude had the influence, John had the title.
yes,
But title is leadership is not about title. In his 5 levels of leadership, he talks about your position. If you lead out of position, and that's where you stay, and you don't have relationship level 2 and on, you don't produce, then you're not going to influence anybody. People will follow you because they have to. But I think the real transformational leaders are the people that are authentic. I love what C said. C was talking about authenticity, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And the transformational leaders will bring the best out of people. If you lead out of title and fear, like Brene Brown talks about, if you lead out of fear, then creativity and innovation go right out the door. It's not
Right.
going to happen. It's not going to happen. So, like Janice was talking about risk taking, you're not going to take a risk if you're afraid. You're going to keep your head down, just do what you need to do to survive.
Mhm.
And you're not going to take any risks. So, I love that. Matter of fact, I'm taking notes along with you, Bridget, because this is some good stuff. But the transformational leaders come right alongside of you. Of course, if they're the leader and they have the title, they have the authority. Everybody knows that. But the real leaders will bring the best out of other people because they create a culture where they're tapping into other people's gifts. And quite frankly, I'll say one more thing really quickly. I was in an event with John Maxwell, and for some reason, I happened to sit right next to him in this event, and we were listening to James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits. If you haven't read that book, it's a phenomenal book.
Mhm.
But the thing about John, I always heard John talk about, you never stop growing, you never stop leading. He's 76 years old, has been doing this for 50 years. But James Clear was speaking and came up with some slides. And the funny thing was, right next to me, John Maxwell's taking out his phone and he's taking pictures
yeah,
of the slides of James Clear. And I thought to myself, this guy just doesn't talk about it. He models it. And he wasn't doing that for anybody. I just happened to be sitting right there. So I actually took a picture of him taking a picture. I couldn't help it. It was
Yeah,
it
that's
was a
great.
snapshot. So
I
leaders are
love it.
authentic. That's authenticity.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, I love it. I love it. Yeah, go ahead. Who was somebody was about to say
Yeah,
something?
I, I was going to say that for me, I had the opportunity to lead a team in South America, and my Spanish wasn't that great, but I had a leader that trusted me enough to do this job. I had 12 men from all over South America, and we were charged with coming together with a program that could be actually utilized in all 12 countries within South America. And my leader was always pushing me forward. He trusted me enough to think that I could do this. He spoke up for me his leadership team. And because of that, I was able to create and foster and cultivate a synergy and collaboration that we met and exceeded our goal.
Mm.
We all spoke different Spanish because some people think because you South America, you all speak the same Spanish. They don't speak the same Spanish. We had a good time relying on one another. I mean, we was using the translations, we were using everything. But the end goal is because he trusted me, they trusted me, and we were able to actually produce a phenomenal product. So trust is key. And when you have a leader that trusts you, you are willing to do more, collaborate more, and find a way to ensure that your team works together to get the work done.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's absolutely, absolutely amazing. When you start saying that, Martha, it made me think of my first mentor. When I say that he was amazing, he set me down. And this is a thing that I think too about transformational leaders, because I think that I was, not, you put myself on a pedestal, but you have to be assure yourself, like you said, see, talk about being authentic. I'm authentic now to understand that I think that I was at the beginning. I think I had some issues, but I learned how to grow through them. But I learned it from my mentor. He set me down the first week he hired me, and he said, I am not teaching you to be an assistant. I'm teaching you to take my job. And I'm like, whoa, really? And he absolutely did. He taught me every single thing, nothing hidden, because he was sure in his skin. And so when I became a leader, I was sure in my skin, and I was able to promote leader after leader after leader. And one, I actually told her, I said, I'm grooming you for my position. And she said, huh? I said, I'm grooming you for my position, and not so much that I was going to promote her. I knew when I positioned her, the company was not going to need me in the way that they needed me. And sure enough, it happened. And she was like, I didn't. I said, but it's okay, because my goal really is the success of this school, and my goal was your success. And so I knew what I was doing, because in doing that, I also knew the core of the organization, if that makes sense. And so sometimes transformational leadership, you put yourself out there and you might be for the slaughter, but if it's for the best of the people, I think that, God will, and he did. He put a ram in the bush, and 2 months later I was on to my next, but I absolutely told her, I'm going to show you everything, because somebody did that for me. And I just believe that, that's a part of it, is serving in everything. Go ahead. Anybody else?
I think with trust and all you guys are saying, one thing that comes to mind with me, and how it builds credibility and a reputation. It's the key aspect of the credibility and reputation part. Trustworthy leaders and businesses, they're more likely to attract and retain their talent and
Mhm.
customers and build more partnerships.
Mhm.
One big thing that a lot of people shy away from, it trust facilitates conflict resolution a
Yes,
lot of times.
yes.
It helps at resolving those conflicts more effectively, because
Mhm.
when the trust is there and it exists, the parties involved in the conflict, they're more likely to assume positive intentions. They're not going to be so guarded, from the other side. And then they work towards the common solution that benefits everyone when that can be implemented with trust. And then
Mhm.
also, which a lot of people lack in some ways, is it enhances that decision making when we're
Mhm.
going through life. It allows for more efficient, because they're not afraid, speaking with someone, they're not afraid to speak up. They're not afraid to say, this is my opinion, this is what I want to bring to the table. So in that trusting environment, those decisions, they're made faster, and they're less of a need for excessive checks and balances when you're trying to do things. And then in the result of some of that, you have support of the personal relationship that you're building with people, because it's essential, again, for creating some of that emotional safety as you build and you're transforming, which makes that different between that. You have that strong bond that you create, and then the foundation builds upon a healthy relationship that is continually built.
Mm.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And see, when we did the last series, you weren't on here, and that you hit a lot of what we were talking about. That trust piece is so valuable because it builds the foundation out.
Right.
So let's move there. Let's talk first about the compelling vision, and then how that compelling vision that you have as a transformational leader is important when you are intertwining trust and empowerment. Go ahead. Who's next?
You know what? I think I lost you all for a minute, but I heard some of that wonderful discussion about trust being the key to resolving conflicts and moving forward. And that is absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct. So thank you so much for adding that. As we were talking about examples of transformational leadership, I've seen a lot of that at the church level. You all mentioned various religious settings. Sometimes I think it's easier to happen in a church setting than it is in a professional setting, because a lot of times in a professional setting we've got so many rules and regulations, and you've got some built-in acrimony built upon the fact that people are earning their living that way. So if they see anything that they think threatens their opportunity to make a living or to progress in the organization, they may rebel against it. Whereas in a church setting, a lot of times those leaders are given more of a free reign to accomplish some things, and you've seen some wonderful things happen. I think the first example that came to mind was Reverend R.A. Vernon. He is in the Cleveland, Ohio area, and he was pastor, young man. He was pastor of a very traditional Baptist church, and they basically kicked him out because they thought he was too radical. I mean, he was just doing too much. And like, oh, Rev, you can't do that here. And they locked the doors on him. So what he does next is decide to found his own church, the Word Church in Cleveland, and now he has thousands upon thousands of members, and he is on YouTube. He has what's called a Bible cast. It's a Bible podcast, cross between Bible study and a podcast. He talks about real life issues from a spiritual biblical perspective, and he reveals a lot about his life experience that has drawn people to him. So I say that to say that a lot of times the key to getting true transformational leadership is just to free people up. They have to feel like they have a safe environment in which to
Mhm.
function, and they don't necessarily do that if there are just too many rules and regulations. It's too, structure is good, but you don't want it to be oppressive. And I think sometimes those oppressive structures keep us from truly transforming organizations, be
Yeah,
they secular
Janice.
or
I,
in the church.
I love what Janice just said, because today's innovation is tomorrow's standard. And the only way we
Absolutely.
improve is when we give that freedom, Janice, that you're talking about, where there's, you feel safe. Because if you don't feel safe, like I was saying before, as Brene Brown talks about, you just keep your head down and survive. So you've got to have that freedom. I give one very quick practical world example. A part of my background is I was a nursing home administrator, and this is more rare than it should be. But believe it or not, there are thriving nursing facilities where the nursing assistants make their own schedule. Think about that for a second. I mean, the first thing people say, well, we can't trust them. They don't know enough. They don't blah, 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 blah. But no, are you kidding? They know. And then they trust each other and they make it work. They make it work because the leader is secure enough, as you were saying, Bridget, sure in their own skin to give that and delegate that. And there are nursing homes that thrive with nursing assistants creating their own schedule.
Mm.
So good.
But that piece is so important. I asterisk that, the safe environment.
Mhm.
As I said, I was still able to work out and be a transformational leader even when I wasn't in the safest environment. But
Mhm.
again, that's because I had came into who I was as a person, as a leader, as a
Mhm.
woman, as a, because Martha talked about it, in the sense of where you were in. Part of my thing was, I know in the organization that I was dealing with, it had a lot to do with gender. A lot to do with gender, some biases and things like that. But being in that safe environment, when you said that, Janice, it immediately made me to think about this. You can't be the greatest leader you need to be if you haven't created that safe environment, as C talked
Mhm.
about, having that trust and empowering, because literally, physiologically, we are changing when we're not in safety. And
Mhm.
think about that, coming to work day after day after day in an environment that is not conducive to your best, whatever your best is. If it's not your best financially, if it's not your best positionally, if it's not your best mentally, if it's not your best emotionally, whatever that thing is that safety is stopping, it
Mhm.
can't be. And so that's why we need to have transformational leaders with compelling vision, that
Mhm.
again, no leader left behind, but also no team member left behind.
Right,
But I'm
right.
gonna stop. I'm gonna get on my soapbox. Go ahead. Tag, who got next?
Now, I wrote a research article on that whole issue of safety, in especially in a hybrid environment, where most of us work in environments where you don't have interactions face to face with your leader. And if you don't have that safety, if you don't have that connection, you're always scared. You're always afraid to know and say what you want to say because you don't feel comfortable because they haven't built that safety. So it's very important to have, as transformational leaders, that understanding that it's our job to make sure that our team, our environments are in a safe place, even in an organization where there may be some disruption for whatever reason. You can provide that visionary perspective on how you can continue to do your work. A lot of times, we try to control the outside, but when we understand that we are in control of ourselves, we can create the environment for ourselves, and just sharing that with individuals that relieves them from trying to figure it out, to let them know that you are safe and you can perform and you can do whatever no matter what, because you control your inside, you control how you think and how you feel.
Ooh, that's more that EQ.
Mhm.
That self-regulation. I love
Right.
it. I love it. Go ahead. See, you're gonna say something.
Yeah, that common thing, it facilitates it facilitates a beneficial cooperation because
Mhm.
that trust is that foundational aspect of it. And it's in the environments like we're saying when you're working, and Gary, how you were saying, even the nurse and assistants, they are the core that drive some of the patient care. A lot of times they're the baseline for that. So when that trust is present, you have the individuals are more willing to work together. They'll share their ideas. Like we said, they're free to support each other and have that freedom of the speech in that time, which to me results in that better teamwork and that better collaboration that you have. The other thing that I see too when thinking of different environments and working, especially in the medical and working in a mental hospital and in nursing homes and hospitals, it reduces that complexity that comes in that with the interactions. It's not tension. It makes you free to want to come to work, free to go to school, free to go happily to your organization, to where you're working, because it's essential for that personal and organizational growth that comes there with it. So those you spend less time and less resources monitoring and controlling each other's behaviors when you can focus more on that productivity. Like Martha was saying, having that knowing your inside, that more self-awareness that you have for your own behavior and control that instead of worrying about others and worrying about the outside external environmental how you say things that affect you that on a
Mhm.
day-to-day basis when you can just come and say I trust you. That's so easy to say, and you just feel free when you can trust somebody.
Mhm.
Yeah, how we see people makes all the difference in terms of how we're going to lead people, how
Right.
we're going to even teach people, how we're going to whatever. I mean, if we think people are basically lazy, we're gonna beat with a stick, metaphorically speaking. Um, but if we believe that people want to do the best and be the best that they can be, and we trust and give that trust to them. In a secure environment where the leader is secure. One of the worst things is to have an insecure leader who has to control everything and make all the decisions. No, you give it down. And see, I love what you said too. And the result is when you do the right things in the right way for the right reasons, the right things happen. Oh, and by the way, we're going to be more efficient. We're going
Yes.
to have less turnover. People are going to be happier. I mean, all these things, they come together and when they're aligned.
Mhm.
Absolutely, absolutely. When you just said that, it made me think. I was watching the rerun of Sherry Shepherd's show this morning, and I cannot remember her name. It just escaped me. But there was this lady on there that she has an organization. She's an author. She's well known. That's why I'm like, I can't think of her name. But she said this, and this hasn't to do with leadership as much as, but this is what leaders do. She said, as a society, she works with young people, and her goal is young people embracing themselves now and not waiting until they get older and they're like, oh wow, I wish I could go back and love my teenage self, right? And what she said was, a lot of times this generation, the older ones, us, and she was over 40, so she was talking about the fact of how we relate and what we say about the young people. And she said this, she said, we say, I wouldn't want to be in this generation, meaning that they're not almost saying, or making a conjecture that they're not, they can't handle it. And I've been guilty. I've really been guilty. My point that I'm bringing out in that is that as leaders, we almost do the same thing. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We
Right.
say, Gary, you just said it. We say da 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 da. But if we say, no, we're going to be this, and this is what we're going to be, and we're going to create this culture, and our culture is a culture of safety. Our culture really is, you can come in here and have your opinion. And I'll
Mhm.
be honest with you, when I first started my leadership journey, I said that, but in practicality, that was not it at all. It wasn't a safe place because, and I'm not saying everybody, because I'm really an open minded person until I'm not. And on those days when I wasn't, that I was like, I don't want to hear that. Come on, you're not
Yeah.
getting with the program because, see, I was in an urban setting. And so anytime people said certain things, I was like, but you don't understand what these children are going through, rather than allowing them to work through all of that until they got to the point where, wait a minute, they're going to come. They didn't come into this field not to like children. They didn't come into this field not to care and everything, but because I was like, no. But once I started valuing everybody dumb, then people would come around on their own rather than me try to pressure them to see how I view things. I hope that made sense. Like literally, she said that this morning, that blew my mind. It's like, we got to stop saying stuff. We can't say this generation can't handle stuff. We can't say that these children nowadays, I wouldn't want to be these children nowadays. Like, society is rough. But guess what? Obviously, if God designed them in this season, in this time, in this century, they can't handle it because they were born in this generation. So I say that to all the leaders. If you're listening, stop saying the things that we can't, that your team cannot. Your team absolutely can. I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I'm done.
But
Oh, yeah.
as you say that, a few weeks ago, about a month or so ago, I was at a conference, International City County Managers Association conference in Austin, Texas. And one of our presenters talked about generational differences. And
Mhm.
she pointed out that every previous generation thought that the upcoming generation was doomed. I
Mhm.
mean, that has been our MO as a society for hundreds of years, that, oh, these young folks, they don't know nothing. They're not going to do nothing. What is the world coming to, et cetera, et cetera. And somehow we always manage to survive. So,
Yeah.
so we really need to get off of that. But yeah, that's just something. I think apparently the change or the differences are things that we're not comfortable with.
Absolutely.
But there's really no reason to fear. It's more of a reason to learn from what it is that they have so that we ourselves can adapt.
I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. There's a Tim Elmore, a guy, just wrote a book called The New Kind of Diversity, and it's about generational differences.
Right.
I will tell you, yeah, and the generations can say, oh, they don't got this, they don't have that, whatever. I need a mentor who's 1/3 of my age to tell me about social media. I
Mhm.
need it desperately.
Right.
And I may be able to mentor younger generations in different things, but it just doesn't go one way. It's all different ways. What does my generation need from other generations? And that's the way we ought to look at it. What you were talking about, Janice, we talk about, oh yeah, the younger generation, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
No. And we get stuck in that easily. We can all offer the other generation something, and we can get something from even the very young generations.
Absolutely. I've always believed that we all can add. So let's go there. Let's talk about teams for a
Yeah.
minute. So as we're accomplishing team goals, for transformational leadership, speaking again to the leaders that are listening, or maybe they're on the team that's listening, um, what's some strategies, but what are also some things that you think teams should do to accomplish those goals that they need to achieve in whatever organization?
When you say teams should do, from a leadership perspective, is we have to have more interactions with one another so we can learn about one another, and
Mm.
so that we can begin to respect everyone's opinion. And we need to come there with the attitude that I'm here to listen. Each one of us are different and unique, and each one of us have value. So we have to put our judgmental perspective outdoor, because you don't know that person's story. So as leaders, bringing individuals together, have the conversation, have the authenticity to know that they are in a safe space for them to share who they are. I just want to say one thing about the intergenerational. I was at a Google conference I spoke at in May, and the young girl there, she was fire, and she was so intelligent. So they was asking me questions, she was giving the answers. That's because they are on fire, and we have to respect them. And
Yes.
she had no shame, that she knew and was confident in who she is. We grew up in a generation that, oh girl, I can't lose my good job. So we didn't learn how to be bold enough to stand in her integrity. So I just wanted to say that.
I love it. That is a good way to surmise authenticity. Because for real, we were like, be quiet. You don't rock the boat.
Right.
I have
Right.
a 29-year-old that's about to be 30-year-old daughter that she works for one of the most major organizations in the country, and that girl will say her opinion. She loves her good job, but at the same time she's of that generation that I'm going to be authentically me, and I love it. I love it. Thanks, Martha, for bringing that out.
I think some of that comes with having that open mind that, as we're speaking, having that opinion, just have the mindset of we're all on the same team. We're not here to maliciously tear each other down or say one is better than each other. We're here to learn and teach each other. No matter what the age is, you take out all the labels, all the titles, all the positions there, and just look at each other as an individual person and their strengths and what they can bring to the table to enhance society, to enhance the schools or whatever organization it is. Take all those unbiases out and just be free of that open mindedness. I think will actually, to me, transform a lot of it, and accept that, like you guys said, we're coming to who we are. Just take those comments, those creative ideas. Think outside the box instead of going against. It's okay to bend the rules, not break them, bend them, because maybe what's working right now, someone has that idea to change it. But also just speak up to keep that, the social systems, the economic, transactions that we have and the rules that we follow, let those lay on the wayside to cultivate, like you said, Martha, those interactions that we have, because that actually impacts the most. Because when you have more interaction, you have that more creativity, you have that more brain power, more transforming actually happens, not conforming to the status quo.
Right. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, all of that juicy nuggets. All those
You-
juicy
Yes.
nuggets.
One of
Yeah.
the things that I love to do, I've recently become a trainer and consultant with the DISC training,
I
and
just
some of you, if not all of you, the different personality types, man. And when I first got exposed to that and realized, oh my gosh, no wonder I drive people crazy, because I'm this and they're that. It didn't mean I was wrong. It just meant I was wired differently, and I mean, when we talk about, diversity and all, we have to be open and appreciate the differences, because we need each other. We need the different gifts. I mean, we're basically, a lot of times, we get in battles, and instead we conflict rather than collaborate. and realize that I need you. I need everyone here, and just listening to your perspective. I mean, here I sit, I'm a white guy. Surprise. I mean, I'm here, with four wonderful women of color. I will never, as much as I try, understand where you're coming from. It's like when my wife was having our firstborn, and in the midst of delivery, I said, "Oh, babe, I know how you must feel." Well, that was one of the worst things I've ever said.
Yeah,
Not great.
that wasn't a good thing to say.
Never said it
Right.
again.
And wait a minute, Gary, you're alive to
I'm
tell
alive.
it.
I'm
Right.
alive and here to tell that story, and I'm grateful for that. but but I do have a responsibility to, as best as I can, what is it like to be a woman of color? And what are the things that you're dealing with that I never have had to deal with, And so how do we reach out and listen, not just about color and gender but generation, all of the differences, try to reach and listen and expose myself so that I can appreciate you more, appreciate your gifts, your differences, and together we can synergize.
Ooh, actually,
Yeah.
Gary, it
Yeah.
was funny that you went there because I was pointing at C, and I was getting ready to say, let's unpack that as we wind up. We have about 10 minutes. Let's spend at least 5 of those minutes talking again about strategies, and that was one of them. Gary, you just mentioned it. So, C also is trained in the DISC assessment. I'm trained in the DISC assessment. Martha, are you?
I'm not.
Can't
I'm
remember.
familiar with
Okay.
it,
I know
but
you're familiar with it, but I couldn't remember if you were or not. I know Janice is taking it. I know you're familiar with it. You used it.
yes. Hmm.
But I'm trained in it. I happen to be a elite coach with Eric Thomas. Gary, we love talking about all the look those gurus, right? And I was going to say the same thing as a strategy. That is the strategy. I was going to bring them up. We were talking about, okay, who are some of those people? Eric Thomas is one of those people for me. I talked about John Maxwell. Eric Thomas is too as well. The one thing that I love about him is that he strategizes with his team because
Yes.
he is a transformational leader. And Gary, he does just what you said. He understands that 70% of the population is not like him. He's what we call the flight attendant. That's that I, that interactive on the disc. And
Yes.
he
Uh-huh.
understands that. So he stacks the deck with
Yes.
the other styles so that
Yeah.
everything that he does can come out as pure gold.
Mm.
And that's what I've learned. And I'm putting those people, positioning those people around me. Many of you are on this call right now. See, that's my girl. Like literally, she's the analytical. So she's that C. Actually, C is a C. She's a conscientious on the disc assessment, or what we call the air traffic controller in my world. And she's my go-to person when I need to get all the way down into the blades of the grass. And so, as a leader, understanding where your blind spots are
Hmm.
and helping to do them. So that's my
Yeah.
strategy that I say out there. Stack the deck. Know
Mm.
what you are. You don't want everybody just like you. You want those people that are opposite. And how you can find that out, you can use psychometrics to help you with that. You ain't got to do all this stuff blind. You use a tool. So,
Hmm.
anybody else, what are your strategies that you can help people as we get ready to close out? We want to leave people with, okay, what's something they can do today to be
Hmm.
that transformational leader?
Yeah, one of the things I think Gary was hitting on was with the team. The team needs some time to figure out what their commonalities are, where you talked about where they differ. And yes, there should be differences among team members. But also, I think as people kind of let the guard down and they can talk about common experiences that they never knew that they had, and that way that brings people together. I think so. A lot of times, folks will say, "Well, the team's going on a retreat. What's the point of doing a retreat? I hate those things." Da 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 da. But you don't get to comfortable a level of comfort with your team members many times until you know something about them. You may find out that, hey, both of you experienced a miscarriage, for instance, and that's a real serious thing. But you may find out things like that. You may find out both of you are taking care of an ailing parent or grandparent or whatever, wherever, and that just makes everybody on the team feel like you're more human. And it makes it easier for you all to interact. And if you've got things that you can build around, you feel more similar than you are different. And that also creates a safe space in which to really function and operate, let the guard down, and do all that you can for the benefit of the organization that you're serving.
Yeah. I am trained as a neuro leadership coach, and they have, as part of that, basically a framework called SCARF, where we want to ensure that individuals are their status is not jeopardized by our leadership, but we are comforting them in that. And then we have what we call certainty, making sure that your individual team members are certain about where they fit and how they can continue to be an asset to the team. And then we have autonomy. We allow them to have their space and come back with the results. And then relatedness, where we want to make sure that they are relating with one another. And as individuals, in transformational leadership, those are the key perspectives that are necessary for us to have that trustworthy environment, let people grow, and let individuals know that they are in a safe space to collaborate. And that is very important as we build teams.
Yeah, I think the power of the Me Too movement is powerful, powerful, powerful. Whether it's the pain and struggles we've gone through or whatever. And Janice, what you were hitting on, is you too. You've had that experience, the commonalities as
Mhm.
human beings. It's the leader who thinks they have to be the end all be all that
Mhm.
people cannot relate to, and that doesn't work.
Right.
Love it. See,
Mhm.
you have a strategy?
Yeah, I think, and speaking in, like you're saying, Bridget, utilizing, having training and certification through John Maxwell, being consulting also with Eric Thomas and Intermetrics and behavior, using, behavior analysis, I think is the aspect of just don't forget we're still human. Like you're all saying, that connection of experiences. If you allow the human aspect to come through, not just on the business aspect, as we say, the people and the task aspects of it when it comes to understanding who you are, I think that's the first strategy. And just understand that it's okay to be vulnerable. I think that's another big thing with people because you never know who has the same story or a similar story and where you can find to empower in some of those voids that people are really feeling and to
Mhm.
fill in and just to fill them up where they need to be because then they feel like an asset and they're still valuable and we appreciate who they are.
Mhm.
I love it. I love
And
it.
and
Listen, oh,
Bridget,
go ahead.
before we go any further, I have to acknowledge I see another
I,
one of
I
my
am. I was
former.
getting ready to pull them up on the screen. I was
I,
just making
I,
sure
I,
everybody was done.
yeah, another
I
one of
want to
my former
acknowledge Michael.
1000. Yes, Miss
Yeah,
Benita
and I see
Childs
Benita
also.
too. Yes,
Uh huh.
I was going to read what Michael said. Michael said, "I will always appreciate Janice's transformational leadership. If that is not the epitome of being a transformational leader, that you don't say it, that other people say it for you. So
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you, Janice, for that. And yes, I was getting ready to pull those up.
Yeah.
Then Benita says, "Awesome webinar, excellent content. Thank you." So go ahead. What were you going to say,
Yeah,
Janice?
yeah. Benita was Michael was in the fire department in Augusta, Georgia. Benita was in the police department in Albany, Georgia. So
Okay.
I work closely with both of them, and it's just so wonderful to have my former employees wanting to join me for something like this. So I just love y'all to death. Um, yes, just part of that, and I think one of the strategies that we talk about that I always consider our employees as a family. I always use the term, even with my podcast now, I say, welcome to the Local Matters family. So they were part of the Albany family and the Augusta family. And I just referring to employees in that way, I think brings people closer together just because they know that there's some larger purpose for them being in that organization.
I love it, Janice, and that's what I was gonna say. That relational uh relationship capital is so very amazing. People don't really understand and realize their network. And you have an amazing one. Even the last time we were on, you had people that were on and celebrating you. Well, since we got you already spotlighted, let's go ahead, Janice, tell the people a little bit about you.
Yes, it's almost time to close out. This hour is almost up. thank you so much, Bridget, for creating this platform for us to come together first. It is so wonderful to meet all of the other panelists and everything that they bring to this table. You just put up my web address. That is my website. I invite everybody who is under the sound of our voices right now to please connect with me on LinkedIn, because it's all about building your relationships and building your networks. So please don't hesitate to connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a YouTube channel that is called the Local Matters Podcast of Georgia. Please subscribe there. My podcast features state and local government topics, community topics, to help people become more engaged and have a better understanding of how local government works. And please also follow the Local Matters Podcast of Georgia on Facebook. My consulting practice, as I said earlier, is geared around providing services to local government and nonprofit organizations. So if you need any assistance with strategic and organizational development services, please reach out to me. Thanks so much, Bridget.
Thank you, Janice. All right, Miss Martha, come on and tell the people a little bit about you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure in being a part of this conversation. I appreciate it. I am Martha Davidson. I am the founder of Empowering Minds Now, where we support high achieving women who have a desire to own a seat in the executive suite. We often find ourselves as women in this environment, and really, Gary mentioned it early, where gender bias and understanding who we are and how we can support is often overlooked. Well, my role and my goal at this point in time is focusing on the aspect of Black women in the workplace owning that seat in the C suite. And I've just created a platform called Black Girl Magic Leaders, Leading Within, playing full out and not stressed out and selling out. So you can reach me if you're interested in joining the movement. You can reach me at empoweringmindsnow.com, or you can reach me through my email, empoweringmindsnow@gmail.com. Love, love, love the environment that we have been in today, sharing so many nuggets. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Martha. We appreciate you being here. Like, literally, did you all hear her talk about all of that international success? All right. All right, see Morgan, come on. Let us know a little bit more about you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sue Morgan. I focus on a lot of just aligning who you are and your businesses. I actually am working with a nonprofit program that we work with. It's called SOAR, so a success over and beyond reality, where we actually teach the youth, high schoolers, to
Mhm.
we take on business aspects of the hospitality management and entrepreneurship mindset, and it's a free program. It's twice a year, it's 8 weeks, 4 and 4 in advance and the basics. So we're looking for some more youth to actually empower, to ignite their actually minds to aspire to have their own businesses. I also do consulting and coaching, personal and professional development, what I also do, and just helping one would be. And I have the Analytical Chaos podcast with a co-host King, actually, where we empower women, educate men on the different aspects of relationships. And we talk about the topics that a lot don't, where it comes about being in relationships, how to communicate, some things to do to move on. So to give some strategies and tips on that aspect. And you can actually reach me at Crystal at cmorgancoaching.com.
Love it. Thank you so much, C. Morgan. And last, well, I'll be last, but last that I'm introducing, but definitely not least, our solo male on the panel.
Well, it
Go
is
ahead,
a
Gary.
privilege to be here, boy. And I took a bunch of notes myself with all of this. But I'm Gary Hibbs, and just 10 days ago, I got my website unleashedtolead.com. Just started, just got my LLC 10 days ago, and I'm excited about it. But what I do is help people come out of hiding and unleash your gifts. And that's my text. You can text me, sell whatever, unleash their gifts to fully live and lead. Because I think a lot of people are hiding and in quiet desperation for a whole host of reasons, whatever it may be, fear, shame, whatever it is. And what I want to do is, with my background in law, and then I was in the C-suite for almost 30 years with a company called Erickson Senior Living, and is to help people be all that they can be. And I love the saying, the sports saying is leave it all on the field. Go all in. And I heard that even today, go all in with the gifts that you have, and don't be encumbered by things that aren't necessary. So I am so excited about this stage of Unleashed to Lead. .com. So Bridget, thanks. This is exciting, and I can't wait for days 2 and 3.
Yeah, I know that's right. Me too. I am so very, very excited. And so, listen, everybody, I'm Bridget Brown Jackson. I am a behavior wealth strategist, and I love saying that, because I don't hear people talk about their behavior wealth strategist. So you're like, Bridget, what is that? What I love to do is help people understand their behavior and to see the wealth in their behavior. So a lot of times in society, we're taught to look after and go after money, money, money. And money is important. We can't do things without money. So, I don't believe that money is the root of evil. The love of money is the root of evil. So we do need money, but what we need also is wealth in our relationships, wealth in our practices, wealth in our emotions, wealth in all of the other things. And our behavior leads to all those things. So I help leaders develop themselves as well as to develop their teams. And so I would love to love to work with anybody in that area of team development and leadership so that you can take yourself to the next level using what you have already been given, your behavior. I can be reached at BridgetBrownJackson.com. And I love to say this: Bridget is not spelled your ordinary way. It is really Brigitte. So spell it right: Brigitte. All right, everybody. It has really been great to be here with you all today. This was only day one. Listen, we're doing Transformational Edge, leading beyond limits. Who wants to lead beyond limits? We would love to hear from you all. If you listen to this, whether you're on the YouTube, you're on LinkedIn, or whatever platform that we posted it, pushed it over into, we would love to hear from you. We'd love to have you back tomorrow and on tomorrow's Wednesday, and on Thursday. We would love, absolutely love to have you here. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about inspirational leadership and emotional intelligence. So, Janice, we can't wait to get those nuggets about that EQ. And then on day 3, we're going to be talking about implementing and sustaining that transformational leadership. It's good to have it, but can you keep it up? Can you keep it going? So anybody else have any closing marks? We're about 1 minute over, but anything else from the team of
No,
panelists?
thank you. Thank you. And looking forward to having this information be shared with all the ones that are going to be on the replay.
Yes. Replay squad, we want to hear from you.
Right.
Did this bless you? Did this bless you? Did this absolutely bless you? And for people that might be listening that are inspiring leaders, like, did this bless you? Because tomorrow we're going to break it down. And definitely on day 3, how to sustain, we're going to break it down. We're going to tell you some bloopers and stuff like that too, so you don't repeat our mistakes. Amen. That's why people come before you. The pioneers come so you don't have to do the same trailblazing they did. They trailblazed the roads for you. But anyways, I love talking about this. Can y'all tell? So we're going to get out of here. We're going to get out of here. Thank you all so much for giving us your time. As I love to say in my ministerial life, I love to say all the time, if it wasn't for you, there would be no need for me. So we're appreciative that you are listening today, because we wouldn't have a voice if we didn't have anybody to listen to us. So we appreciate those people that listen in real time and those people that will be listening in the replay. Anybody else have anything to say goodbye? All right. See you all tomorrow. Thank